Imagine you're maybe a junior here at App State, grabbing coffee down on King Street, and someone sparks an idea for, say, a new club initiative. Or maybe you're just thinking about how you'll present your own skills, for that first big job interview after graduation. How do you make that idea, or even yourself, really stand out? How do you keep it fresh and relevant in a world that's, well, always changing? Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is specifically crafted for you, the future marketing leaders, right here at Appalachian State University. Today, we're diving deep into a really core topic from your Principles of Marketing course, developing and managing products. Our mission, really, is to navigate the fascinating, sometimes complex ways companies keep their offerings not just alive, but actually thriving, making them innovative, relevant in this constantly shifting marketplace. We're going to unpack the whole life cycle of a product, from that first spark of an idea all the way through to its eventual retirement. And to make these concepts really stick, we've pulled insights directly from your course materials, your foundational stuff, and we're weaving in lots of real-world examples.
That's right. We'll be looking at everything from the big strategic moves of giants like Coca-Cola and Dyson to maybe the more localized genius of Taco Bell, and even the unique approach of a company like Cutco Knives. It's all designed to give you that edge, moving beyond just definitions to, well, strategic understanding.
Okay, great. So let's jump right in. Before a company even, dreams of launching something totally new, a huge amount of marketing effort goes into managing their existing products. It's like doing a health check on what they already offer, right?
Right.
Like finding weaknesses, gaps, keeping the current lineup strong.
That's a perfect way to put it, yeah. Think of it like tending a garden. You don't just plant new seeds all the time. You have to nurture, prune, adapt what's already growing. And companies mainly do this through two key strategies: line extensions and product modification.
Okay, let's start with line extensions. What makes them so popular? Why do we see them so often?
Right. So a line extension means introducing a new item that's closely related to existing products in that same line. But it's designed to meet slightly different needs, maybe appeal to a new niche. And what's fascinating is just how common they are. I mean, many of the new products you see, they're actually line extensions. They're popular because, well, they're less expensive and carry significantly lower risk than developing something totally new from scratch. You're building on an established brand.
Ah, okay. So it's not a massive leap into the unknown, but more of a calculated strategic step. What are companies trying to achieve with these?
Well, their goals are usually pretty clear. They might be focusing on attracting new market segments, or maybe increasing sales in segments they already serve by offering more tailored options. Or sometimes it's about directly taking market share from competitors who aren't moving as fast. Now, for a line extension to really work, two things are critical. You need a strong, high-quality parent brand image, and there has to be a really good fit between the extension and that parent brand. You don't want to confuse people or dilute what your core brand stands for.
Right, that makes sense. Can you give us some examples? Maybe something we'd recognize easily, even here in Boone.
Absolutely. Think about Coca-Cola, how they've adapted to changing tastes over the years. They started with the classic Coke, right? But now you've got Diet Coke, Coke Zero, Cherry Coke, Vanilla Coke. All those variations, those are all classic line extensions building on that incredibly powerful brand identity. Or think about B&G Foods. They own brands like Green Giant, cream of wheat. They continually expand those existing lines with new flavors or formats to capture more shelf space and meet different consumer preferences. It's all about leveraging that existing brand equity.
Okay, got it. So that's line extensions adding to the family, so to speak. But what about product modifications? They sound similar at first, but you said there's a crucial difference.
There is, yeah. While both involve changing existing products, the key difference with a product modification is that the original product is actually removed from the line. You're not just adding another variant, you're updating, maybe improving the core product itself. Now, it's still generally less risky than completely new product development because you are working with something known, something that already has market presence, brand recognition. You're not starting from absolute zero.
That's a really important distinction.
Okay.
And for these modifications to really work, to hit the mark, what needs to be in place?
Three conditions are pretty critical. First, the product itself must actually be modifiable. Some things just aren't easy to change. Second, and this is crucial, customers have to be able to perceive that a modification has been made. If they don't notice, well, you've likely wasted your effort. And third, the change really has to align with what customers want. It needs to make the product more consistent with their desires.
That makes perfect sense. You're essentially giving the original product a strategic makeover. And it sounds like there are different flavors of these makeovers. What are the main types?
Yeah, we usually break them down into three major types. First, you have quality modifications. These are changes that affect a product's dependability and durability, how well it works, how long it lasts. Think about, say, Campbell's Soup or General Mills tweaking ingredients to improve the taste or maybe the nutritional value, switching to healthier options maybe. But here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes a company might even strategically reduce quality.
Reduce quality. That sounds risky.
It can be, but sometimes it's done deliberately to maybe offer a lower priced option to target a different, more price sensitive segment. The trick is doing it without damaging the main brand or cannibalizing your higher end sales. It really raises that question. When does reducing quality make sense strategically, and when does it just backfire? Like some people argue Gillette's constant razor upgrades felt like more hype than a real improvement, especially when many just wanted a simple, affordable shave.
Hmm. That's a really tricky balance for companies, especially with established brands. That line between innovation and maybe annoying your loyal customers. Okay, what's the second type of modification?
The second type is functional modifications. These are changes affecting a product's versatility, its effectiveness, convenience, or safety. And these often require some level of redesign. A classic example, Apple adding Siri to the iPhone. That was a huge functional modification. Or maybe Kraft changing snack packaging to make it easier for, say, elderly customers to open. Think about smartphones becoming waterproof. That's another perfect functional modification. These kinds of changes can really expand market appeal, help maintain a progressive image, and importantly, sometimes reduce the risk of product liability issues.
So quality and function are about what the product does and how well it performs. What about the third type? How it looks and feels?
Exactly. That's aesthetic modifications. These changes affect the sensory appeal, taste, texture, sound, smell, or very commonly, appearance. Think about The Gap introducing a popular t-shirt style in a whole new range of colors for the season. Or a luxury brand like Prada changing the design details of a handbag. What's really fascinating here is just how subjective these can be, right? What one customer finds attractive, another might just not. It's all about perceived value. And sometimes a really smart change in styling can dramatically differentiate a product and help grab market share. But of course, you also run the risk that the new aesthetic just doesn't land with your target audience. My bright yellow toaster might be amazing to me, but you might hate it.
True. Okay, so we've talked about carefully expanding what you already have or fundamentally tweaking an existing product. But what about the truly new? Developing and introducing genuinely new products sounds exciting, but also really expensive and risky. But honestly, standing still and not developing new products seems even riskier in the long run for a business.
Absolutely. You can't afford to stand still. And the term new product itself, well, it can be a bit tricky because it means different things. It might be a truly innovative product, something never sold before by anyone, or it could just be a modified existing product presented as new. It could also be something that's new to that specific company, even if competitors already offer something similar. Or even just taking a product that exists in one market and bringing it to a completely different one. And this category also includes what we call disruptive innovations. Professor Clayton Christensen talked a lot about these. These aren't just small improvements. They often use old technologies in new ways or create entirely new business models. They give customers something more or different than they expected and can fundamentally change an entire industry.
Like who? Can you give examples?
Oh, sure. Think Google, how it changed information access. Netflix, totally changing entertainment. Uber and Lyft, disrupting transportation. Warby Parker in the eyewear market. These companies saw needs that were unmet or maybe just poorly satisfied, and they developed products or services that really led the way.
Wow. Okay, so for that incredibly complex process of creating something truly new or even just new to the company, there's a systematic approach, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned the 7-phase new product development process. And this seems really strategic because a product idea can get dropped at any point along the way.
Exactly. It's a critical roadmap designed to manage and minimize risk. Phase 1 is idea generation. This is where organizations proactively seek out new product ideas that align with their overall objectives. Ideas can come from internal sources, your own marketing folks, salespeople, engineers, R&D people, or they can come from external sources, customers, competitors, consultants, even university research. A growing trend, and a really smart one, is involving consumers directly, maybe through online communities. It gives them a sense of empowerment, of co-creation.
Like those contests for new chip flavors.
Precisely. Frito-Lay's annual Do Us a Flavor contest is a perfect example. Or how Sephora gets ideas from the Volition Beauty crowdsourcing site. It's absolutely true, as our source material points out, your own employees and your customers often have the best insights into your products and services.
Okay, so once a company has this potential flood of ideas, what's the very first filter they apply? How do they sort through them?
That brings us to phase two, screening. This is where the most promising ideas get selected for a closer look. You're basically assessing if the idea matches the organization's mission, its objectives, and crucially, its resources. Can we actually do this? A lot of ideas get rejected right here. It's the essential gatekeeping stage. You weed out things that don't fit or just aren't feasible before you spend serious money on them.
Okay, screening done. What's the next, maybe lower-cost way to test if an idea has legs?
That would be concept testing, phase three. Here, you're presenting the product idea, maybe just a written description, a drawing, perhaps a mock-up to a sample of potential buyers. The goal is to gauge their attitudes and their initial buying intentions. Is this something they'd even consider? It's a relatively low-cost way to test multiple concepts before you commit to major R&D spending. Chipotle's concept test kitchens are a great example. They try out potential new menu items on actual customers to see what works. You can also use this to test ad concepts for existing brands, too.
Right. And if a concept looks promising after that initial test, then it's time to crunch the numbers, isn't it?
Exactly. That's business analysis, phase four. Here, you dive deep into evaluating the idea's potential contribution to sales, costs, and profits. You also look at how well it fits with the company's existing product mix. Does it complement or compete? This stage really asks that fundamental question. Can this actually make money, and is the potential return worth the investment and risk? For a company like, say, Samsung, this means figuring out if developing a new smartwatch model would significantly boost overall sales and profits, considering the market, the competition, and everything else.
Okay, and if the numbers add up, then you finally get to actually build the thing. Make a prototype.
Yes. That's product development, phase five. This is where the idea finally gets converted into a tangible prototype or a working model. The main goal here is to determine if it's technically feasible to produce and if it can be done cost-effectively. Now, this phase can be really lengthy and incredibly expensive, which is why relatively few ideas actually make it this far through the process. Think about the years and investment Dyson put into developing the supersonic hairdryer, or a car company building a working hydrogen-fueled concept car. Functionality, performance, safety, these are all critical aspects tested rigorously in this stage. A product has to actually work and work well to survive.
Okay, so you have a working prototype. It functions, it seems feasible. But before you bet the farm on a full national or global launch, there's a crucial step to minimize that massive risk. Right?
Absolutely. That's test marketing, phase six. This involves a limited introduction of the product in specific representative geographic areas. The goal is to gauge actual customer buying behavior in a real-world setting. Importantly, it's a sample launch of the entire marketing mix, not just the product, but the proposed pricing, packaging, advertising, distribution, everything.
Why go to all that trouble? What are the benefits?
The benefits are potentially huge. It minimizes the risk of a costly nationwide failure. It gives you a measure of sales performance in a natural environment. It helps identify weaknesses in your marketing plan before you roll it out everywhere. And allows for experimentation, maybe testing different price points or ad campaigns in different test cities.
And our sources mentioned some specific cities often used for this in the U.S.
They did. Places like Nashville, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Charleston, South Carolina, Jacksonville, Florida, they're often chosen because their demographics are seen as mirroring the broader U.S. market reasonably well. But test marketing isn't without its own risks. It's expensive. It definitely delays your full launch. And your competitors are watching. They might try to jam your test market by flooding it with their own promotions, or worse, they might try to copy your product and rush their own version to market faster.
Ooh, tricky.
Very. That's why companies like KFC, when they test new menu items, or Taco Bell, which did extensive testing of the quesalupa in Toledo, Ohio, use this stage so carefully. They want to ensure quality consistency, iron out operational kinks, fine-tune features before going big. But because of those competitive risks, some companies opt for simulated test marketing instead, which is faster and more confidential.
Okay. And then finally, after all that rigorous testing, tweaking, analyzing, the big moment arrives. Commercialization.
That's phase 7, yes. This is where you plan for full-scale manufacturing and marketing. It represents an enormous financial investment building inventory, launching major advertising campaigns, securing broad distribution, training sales teams. It can take years to recoup these costs. And usually products aren't just launched everywhere at once. They're often introduced gradually, region by region, in what's called a rollout.
Right, the rollout. What are the pros and cons of doing that versus just, bam, launching everywhere simultaneously?
Well, a gradual introduction, the rollout, significantly reduces financial risk. If it fails in the first region, you haven't blown your entire budget. It gives the company time to establish distribution channels properly, region by region. It allows production to ramp up more smoothly as demand grows. And it permits fine-tuning the marketing mix based on early real-world feedback from the initial launch areas. However, the big downside is that it gives competitors time to observe your product's performance, figure out your strategy, and potentially launch their own similar products before you've reached the whole market. And too much delay can actually frustrate your distribution partners, your retailers. It really brings up that strategic trade-off. What's better for, say, Taco Bell? Introducing a new taco nationwide all at once, getting maximum buzz, or rolling it out slowly, reducing risk but potentially losing momentum and allowing competitors to react. It's a tough call.
Definitely sounds like it. Okay, so let's say you've navigated all 7 phases. You've got your product, whether it's brand new or maybe a smartly modified existing one. You've decided how to roll it out. But now, how do you make sure it doesn't just get completely lost in the noise?
Yeah.
In that huge sea of competition out there, that's where product differentiation comes in, right? It's absolutely critical.
Exactly. Couldn't be more critical. Product differentiation is all about creating and designing products so that customers perceive them as being distinctly different from competing offerings. And that perception can be based on all sorts of things: quality, features, styling, price, image, customer service. A strong brand is really crucial here because it acts as a shortcut for that perception. When we talk about differentiation, we usually focus on 3 key aspects: product quality, product design and features, and product support services.
Okay, let's start with quality. It sounds obvious, make a good product, but what's the strategic nuance there?
Well, product quality refers generally to how well a product performs in satisfying customer needs. But it actually has 2 critical dimensions. First is the level of quality, basically, the amount of quality, how good it is subjectively. Second, and often even more important, is consistency of quality. That's the degree to which the quality is the same over time from purchase to purchase. Think about it. A truly premium brand isn't just high quality sometimes. It's reliably, flawlessly consistent every single time. That consistency builds enormous trust and is often more valuable than just chasing an absolute highest level of quality, especially if that level fluctuates.
That makes sense. Reliability is key.
Absolutely. Now, higher quality often means a higher price is necessary or possible, so marketers have to balance that carefully. The auto industry is a great example. Think about Ford's Old Quality's Job 1 campaign, or how brands like Volvo and Mercedes-Benz built reputations on unwavering high quality and safety. Compare that to, say, the infamous Yugo, which quickly became a punchline for inconsistent, poor quality. Quality perception matters immensely.
Definitely. Okay, so quality is foundational. What about design and features? How do they differentiate?
They are incredibly powerful differentiators. Product design encompasses how a product is conceived, planned, and produced, its total physical characteristics, how it all comes together. A key component of design is styling, which is simply the physical appearance of the product, how it looks. And consumers, quite reasonably, want products that look good and function well, form and function. Then you have product features, which are those specific design characteristics that allow a product to perform certain tasks or offer specific benefits. Think extra camera lenses on a phone or specific cleaning cycles on a washing machine. Generally, more features or more advanced features often lead to a perception of higher quality and can justify a higher price. For a brand to really gain a sustainable edge, marketers must figure out which designs and features customers truly desire and, importantly, are willing to pay extra for.
Right. So quality and design are largely about the tangible product itself. What about the less tangible aspects? How can companies differentiate beyond the physical object?
That's where product support services become so important. These are any human or mechanical efforts a company provides that add value to a product beyond the core offering itself. This includes a whole range of things: delivery, installation, financing options, customer training, warranties, repairs, technical support. In markets where products themselves have become very similar in terms of quality, design, and features, think electronics, maybe appliances, excellent customer service can sometimes be the only real way to truly differentiate your offering and build loyalty. It builds the relationship.
And the source material had a really striking example of this, didn't it? Something that really sets a company apart.
It really does. Think about Cutco Corporation and their knives. They make high-quality knives, sure, but their forever guarantee is what truly differentiates them. It's not just a promise that the knife is durable, it's a commitment to free servicing, sharpening, repairs, replacements for the life of the product. That adds immense perceived value and makes them stand out. They often sell through direct channels like in-home demonstrations, precisely for they can fully explain and showcase the value of that guarantee. It's not just a marketing gimmick, it's core to their differentiation and building lifelong customers.
That's a powerful example.
Yeah.
So you've got a differentiated product. The next hurdle is making sure customers understand where it fits in their world, right? Especially compared to all the competitors. This is product positioning.
Exactly. Product positioning is all about creating and maintaining a specific desired concept or image of your product in customers' minds. Buyers naturally, almost subconsciously position products relative to each other just to simplify their buying decisions. They create mental categories. Marketers work incredibly hard to influence and shape this perception, often using advertising and targeted messaging to carve out that specific mental space for their brand, hoping it becomes the go-to choice for a particular need or desire.
How do marketers actually see where their product stands in customers' minds? Is there a tool for that?
Yes, there's a very useful tool called perceptual mapping. Marketers create these visual maps by surveying consumers. They ask consumers about their perceptions of different products and brands across various important dimensions, things like price versus quality, or maybe convenience versus effectiveness, or sporty versus practical for cars. The purpose is to visually represent how their own brand is perceived relative to competitors, and also relative to what customers consider the ideal points, what they truly want in that product category.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine a perceptual map for over-the-counter pain relievers. You might chart them based on effectiveness for headaches versus body aches on one axis, and maybe price or gentleness on the stomach on the other axis. You could quickly see how, say, Excedrin, often associated with headaches, might be positioned very differently from Tylenol or Aleve. Or you could map vehicles' performance versus environmental consciousness, maybe, and size on another dimension. You'd see where a Ford F-150, a Toyota Prius, and a Porsche 911 would land, and importantly, where the gaps or opportunities might be. It's like getting a snapshot of the competitive landscape within the customer's mind.
That's really insightful. So once you have that map, what are the different strategic ways you can position your product?
There are several common bases for positioning. One approach is head-to-head competition. This works best if your product's characteristics are seen as equal or better than competitors, but maybe you can offer it at a lower price. Or if your product is clearly superior, even if it costs more, you're directly challenging them. Another approach is avoiding competition. This might be better if your product isn't significantly different feature-wise, or perhaps if it has unique characteristics that appeal strongly to a specific, smaller niche market. This is also really critical if you have multiple brands in the same category. You want to position them carefully to avoid cannibalizing sales.
Cannibalizing, what does that mean exactly?
Cannibalization is when your exciting new product launch doesn't actually bring in new customers, but instead just steals sales away from your existing product. So your overall company sales don't really increase. It's a common and often overlooked risk.
Okay, that makes sense. So what other bases are there for positioning besides going head-to-head or avoiding?
Well, a product's position can also be based very effectively on specific product attributes or features. Focusing your messaging on unique styling, specific shape, maybe it's construction materials, or even just a distinctive color. If buyers can easily grasp the benefits tied to those features, they're more likely to buy. Other common bases include positioning based on price, like value brands, quality level, luxury brands, the specific benefits the product provides, like convenience or effectiveness, or even positioning based on the target market itself, aiming your message at the specific type of person who uses the product, like for busy moms or for extreme athletes.
Okay, and sometimes a product position just isn't working anymore, right? The market shifts, competitors move in, that's when repositioning comes into play.
Exactly. Repositioning is undertaken to strengthen a brand's market share and profitability when its current position has weakened or become less relevant. It requires changing those customer perceptions, which often means altering the actual product features, its price, or maybe its distribution channels as well. It's frequently done when a company introduces a new product into an existing line, needing to make space or avoid that cannibalization risk we just talked about. You can reposition by physically changing the product, adjusting its price or where it's sold, changing its image through new advertising campaigns, or sometimes even targeting a completely different market segment altogether. The Wyndham Hotel Group, for instance, has done a lot of work repositioning its various hotel brands, like Super 8, Days Inn, Wyndham Grand, to target very distinct traveler segments effectively, from budget to luxury.
It sounds like a constant balancing act. But sometimes, despite all efforts, a product just reaches the end of its useful life. It's a tough decision, I imagine, but knowing when and how to eliminate a product seems like a critical part of management, too.
It absolutely is, just as important as launching new ones. Product dilution is about strategically removing a product from the portfolio when it no longer satisfies enough customers or fails to meet the organization's financial or strategic objectives. And a declining product isn't just a drag on sales numbers. It consumes disproportionate amounts of management time and marketing resources that could be better used elsewhere. It can sometimes increase per unit production costs if volumes drop too low. And negative feelings about that weak, maybe outdated product can sometimes even spill over and tarnish the image of the company's other stronger products. It creates a negative halo effect. That's why companies really should systematically review each product's performance, its contribution to sales, costs, profits on a regular basis to make informed, data-driven decisions about deletion.
Okay, so when that difficult decision is made, how do companies actually go about removing a product? Are there different ways to exit the market?
Yes, there are generally three main approaches. First, there's a phase out. This allows the product to decline naturally without any changes to the marketing strategy. You just stop actively promoting it and let existing inventory sell through as demand naturally diminishes. It's a slow fade. Second, there's a run out. This approach might actually involve increasing marketing efforts in specific core markets where the product still has some strength, or perhaps cutting some expenses like R&D or reducing the price to clear out remaining inventory quickly. It's like one last push to maximize value before it's gone. And third, there's an immediate drop. This is usually the best strategy when a product is incurring significant losses and there's just no financial sense in prolonging its life. It's a quick, decisive cut.
Can you think of an example of a product deletion we might recognize?
Sure. A really clear, relatively recent example is Best Buy's decision to stop selling physical CDs in their stores. That was a direct response to the massive shift in consumer behavior towards digital music streaming. The demand just wasn't there anymore in their retail environment. It actually raises an interesting question. Can you think of any real-life examples where deleting a product faced major pushback? Maybe from really loyal customers who loved it. Products that had passionate fan bases but were pulled anyway, perhaps leading to online petitions or campaigns to bring them back. It does happen.
Yeah, I can think of a few examples like that. Okay, so finally, to make all of this happen effectively, from generating ideas to launching, differentiating, positioning, even deleting, companies need the right people and the right organizational structure, don't they? How do they set themselves up for this?
That's a great point. It's a huge undertaking, and traditional, maybe more rigid, hierarchical structures often don't work well for the dynamic nature of product management. So companies use specialized roles and team structures. You often find a product manager. This person is responsible for a specific product or maybe a whole product line or sometimes a related group of products. They operate cross-functionally, meaning they work with people from marketing, sales, R&D, finance, manufacturing to coordinate all the activities related to their assigned product. This is very common in big consumer packaged goods companies like Procter & Gamble or Unilever. A related role is the brand manager, who is essentially a product manager focused specifically on a single brand. They become the ultimate champion and guardian of that brand.
Okay, product managers, brand managers. What about focusing on specific customer groups? That seems crucial in marketing.
Absolutely. And for that, you have the market manager. This role focuses on managing marketing activities for a particular group of customers or a specific market segment. This structure is really effective when a company serves diverse customer groups that have very different needs, maybe business-to-business customers versus individual consumers, or serving different geographic regions with unique preferences. It allows for much more tailored and effective marketing strategy.
Right. And then there's a special kind of team structure for tackling those really big, potentially groundbreaking new product initiatives, isn't there?
Yeah. Yes, that's the venture team. This is typically a cross-functional team pulled together specifically for the purpose of developing entirely new products that are often aimed at completely new markets for the company. A key feature is that they often operate outside the company's established organizational divisions and bureaucratic processes. This gives them much greater flexibility and autonomy, which can foster more radical innovation. They're usually given responsibility for the entire development process, right from the initial idea through to commercialization, bringing together people from all the necessary functional areas, R&D, marketing, finance, operations, into one focused group. Companies are increasingly using these venture teams to try and boost product quality, speed up innovation, and capitalize on emerging opportunities in highly segmented markets that might get missed by the more traditional established parts of the organization. Of course, it also raises an interesting question for you to think about. What are the potential advantages, but also the disadvantages of using a venture team structure? And when might it not be the right approach for a company?
That's a great point to consider. Wow, okay, we've really covered a lot of ground today. We've navigated the whole spectrum of product management, from fine-tuning existing products using line extensions and modifications, through that rigorous 7-phase process for developing new products. We talked about how companies differentiate themselves, how they strategically position their offerings in the customer's mind, and even how they make the tough call on when to say goodbye to a product. And we finished by looking at how companies organize their teams, product managers, market managers, venture teams, to make it all actually happen effectively.
So, what does all this mean for you as future business professionals coming out of Appalachian State?
Well, understanding these principles, these frameworks, means you're equipped not just to maybe create a great product idea someday, but more importantly, you're equipped to strategically manage its entire life in the marketplace. It's about that constant cycle of innovation, adaptation, and always keeping the customer, their needs and perceptions right at the center of your strategy. That really is the key to sustained success in marketing. Precisely. Well said. And just to leave you with something to chew on, especially as you're thinking about your own paths forward, consider your own career, your professional development. Think of yourself as a product for a moment. How might you apply some of these principles to your own personal brand? What modifications might you make to your skill set or maybe your presentation to stay competitive? What new skills, like new product features, would you need to develop for the future you envision? And how would you strategically position yourself for your desired target market, the industries or roles you're aiming for in the professional world? Just something to mull over as you prepare for your next steps here at App State and definitely beyond.